So I've been increasingly more disappointed about the news media, especially right-wing media, when they start attacking and cannibalizing its own people. Sean Hannity just had Vivek Ramaswamy on his show, and he launched like a hypocritical, vicious attack on Vivek. And you know me, I like Vivek, but what I hate more is hypocrisy. I hate more hypocrisy, and I hate like this shady shadow agenda that people start to throw out there without even thought. And I'll show you this thing. Let's go right into it, because this is on his Twitter or
listen, one of the things I love,
and we're gonna get right into this because this is ridiculous.
Where if your campaign is principally being run by super PACs, people who can give unlimited amounts of money to your campaign, I don't think that befits the Republican Party. I think we need to be better than that. So, Sean, you and I may have a different view on that. But my view is, if you're making money off your time in government, then I don't think you're fit to be president of the United States.
So I mean, who cannot agree with that? This is in the broader conversation of when someone is running for president and these big companies give you money so that they could unlock a law. You could unlock a law for them so that they could make more money. And what he's talking about here is this stuff in Israel and the bombings and stuff like that, that the people who push for war are the ones who profit from war. The defense contractors, and he's particularly talking about Nikki Haley, and he's saying like, hey, look, you're not really serving anybody if you're making this money here. You're in it for yourself. And he actually goes into another Twitter post that he says, look, Nikki Haley's income, household income, tripled when she started serving her time in the political arena. And so I mean, how can you not agree with this, especially from someone who's in Sean Hannity's side? You're like the establishment media, and I think it's really hypocritical of him.
Well, more importantly, though, what's our policy? Stand with our allies while avoiding World War III, and that's where I'm at.
That's a good policy, right? Stand with our allies, avoid war. Stand with the allies, avoid war. That's a no-brainer.
A lot of people don't think you're qualified because you weren't even a Republican or voting Republican until what, 2020?
So he's saying that you're not qualified. That's silly because your political maturity changes over time, and he's been a big supporter of Trump, and he hasn't necessarily been voting for Republican his whole life. He was Democrat. He was supporting Democrat too, and this is the hypocritical nature. And how is it that one person should stick to a political party their whole life? I don't even understand that. It's like where you stand now, I think, is what matters, and I don't like the dividing lines, and it's the us and them. I think that's a narrative that's very dangerous. I think it's unrealistic that you can't prepare for growth for somebody. It's silly to me.
Well, Sean, I think it depends on what your objectives with this interview are. I voted Libertarian in my first election. I voted Republican in 2020. You're right. I'm not a partisan hack. I come in from the outside.
Forgive you for your screw-up.
I'm an independent-minded patriot who speaks the truth.
It sounds to me like you just want to jump from the private sector yourself, where you made a lot of money. By the way, I applaud capitalism. I applaud successful people.
Sean, I applaud you for being so transparent about your objectives.
I actually think that people work in the defense of our country and the defense.
For him to say, like, as a slight negative, like, oh, you want to jump from the private sector to the public sector. You make so much more money in the private sector. He's made a ton of money. Like this is what Donald Trump's like whole narrative was last time, and it's like, this is hypocritical.
Industry are playing a vital role for the cause of freedom. So I don't really call it a corrupting influence or suggest that somehow that's a corrupting influence. I actually like the experience that goes along with working for defense contractors. But I've got to...
This defense contractor thing is the fact that it's war. It's a war machine, right? It's weapons and missiles and tanks and stuff like that. Those are people who profit from war. So it would be an incentive for defense contractors to spur on war, to keep it going so that they will sell more products. You know, it's silly. It's like barbershops across the world want their hair to grow longer, so they're going to promote like hair growth so that they could cut more hair. That's the mentality here, and I don't understand his mentality.
Listen, one of the things I loved about that interview with Tucker, was we were actually able to have a thoughtful conversation and go deep into issues rather than this kind of political gotcha.
The point is this.
Yeah, he mentions this political gotcha. I think that's what I'm really frustrated about right now also, is that there is a gotcha game in journalism, that he's just getting clicks. He's doing two things. He's really trying to be aggressive and gain clicks from this like blow up that he's having with Vivek, and he's protecting his paycheck. He knows where Fox News is getting paid from, and he's protecting that from, you know, the donors, and they have an agenda, and Vivek's just not sticking to their talking points.
Good.
You
Go
on these interviews. Yeah, I have nothing but nice things to say. But here's your problem.
People should
you
watch
go
it.
on these shows, people quote your exact words, and you deny your own words. And I'm saying if you're going to be a presidential candidate, and you're going to spend, I'm going to give you your exact words. Either own it,
Sean, you have been sitting here for years talking about the fake news media.
But you played this all the time.
Sean, I'm enjoying this. You have been laughing about the fake news media how many times for the last several years, and now you're buying the mainstream media narrative when you know how corrupt it is.
I am
following
you. I am quoting your exact words.
Are a problem.
Did I not quote your exact words?
About Azerbaijan and Armenia.
Did I or did I not quote your exact words? Did I quote your exact words?
First of all, that delay in response is so frustrating. However, there is a way to misquote someone by quoting their exact words. Okay, so let me give you an example. I didn't kill the man. Okay, I didn't kill the man, and now you're putting an emphasis on kill. It's meaning like you could have hurt him. I didn't kill the man, so maybe you didn't kill him, but maybe you killed his like son or someone close relative. So you could manipulate the meaning by manipulating the intonation on the words, that you put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable. You know what I'm saying? Like you change the meaning by just quoting the exact words. Same words, different meaning. You could also change the meaning of words even if you quote the exact words. So you're on a technicality, you're right. However, if you apply it to a different situation, it's totally different. If you say I didn't kill the man in a courtroom versus I didn't kill a man in a game of Mafia, like those are two different things, right? So it's a different. So Vivek is claiming that he was referencing this Iranian group, this terrorist group, and he's and Sean Hannity's trying to put the reference somewhere else.
In Armenia, absolutely.
Thank you.
About
Goodbye.
Azerbaijan, yes,
I got
you did.
time to go.
About a different topic, Azerbaijan, where people should actually get their own information rather than filtered through centralized media.
I think it's asinine to think somebody that worked in the defense industry
Cuts him off.
should not be qualified to be president. I think people that never held public office, like you, they're not qualified to be president.
Stop. You hear that? Oh, let me replay that, because that is the largest hypocritical line I've heard in a long time.
Industry should not be qualified to be president. I think people that never held public office, like you, they're not qualified to be president.
He has been riding the Trump train since the very beginning. And now all of a sudden, this guy who is not part of the establishment, this guy who's against the talking points of his owners, the people who own Fox, who spend money and give the paychecks to control the media, who probably are the same people who own the politicians in Washington, and probably the same politicians or people, super PACs that own the defense contracts and are the defense contractors. He's saying they're forcing their puppet Sean Hannity to say, maybe someone who's hasn't had any experience holding public office is not qualified to be president, and that's certainly applicable to Donald Trump. It's totally hypocritical, and what it does, it erodes trust. It erodes the fact that you could have a partisan, thoughtful view, and you're just not some puppet. And I'm not really talking to Sean Hannity. I'm talking to the person who owns Sean Hannity. They shove their hand up him and start talking about Sean Hannity. And here's the thing, right? From a Christian worldview, this is not a political challenge, but certainly your Christian ethics have to play a role into your politics or your view into politics. Christianity does not equal the Republican Party. Am I saying I'm for like the gender thing and all this agenda? No, I'm not saying that. I'm not a Democrat in that way. But certainly, Christ held, these viewpoints, these values that are in both parties. I'm not saying social welfare, but I'm saying a care for your brother and sister. I'm not saying like no responsibility. You have to take some personal responsibility. I'm not saying genders or not genders. I'm saying like, yeah, there's only two genders. But here's what I'm like, catch the higher ethic here is that the Republican Party, just like the Democrat Party, is still just a government political party. That as a Christian, we have to view with some degree of wisdom and prudence and discernment and nuance, be like, okay, can we think here for a second? A lot of people think, Christians don't think. We turn our brains off and we just kind of just willy-nilly just believe whatever we want. That's what the world thinks that we do as Christians. As a Christian, your job is to turn your brain freaking on, overdrive, warp speed, and think through what's really happening here. And what I see here is someone who is extremely hypocritical based on his past actions for defending and supporting Donald Trump, who is nearly the same narrative as Vivek. And then you use those accusations that could be lobbied or to be hurled against Donald Trump as hurling against Vivek. It's totally hypocritical, which tells me you're not trustworthy, which tells me you have an agenda that supersedes your own logic, which tells me I'm talking to someone else, which tells me that they have an agenda and I'm trying to be force-fed and sold and brainwashed into this, and I'm just not buying it. I am extremely discontented, disillusioned from the right-wing media, and I don't know if you are too. Let me know what you think about the comment sections down below. I'll see you in the next video.